Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from TrueGreen7 of how he made a legendary Pokemon with 100 forms. Dude made his own, Zygarde. Well, this is going to be a long one, so let's immediately hop in.
Hey guys, Ron here, and a couple of months ago I designed 2 unevolved Pokemon, had my viewers submit hundreds and hundreds of designs for what they think the evolved form should look like, and then made a top 50 along with a winner for each Fakemon, thus crowning the official evolved forms for both designs. While there were definitely harsh criticisms of the format, literally every artist who participated loved the opportunity to stretch their creative muscles. So here's part 2, with a more revised judging criteria. I made 2 legendary Pokemon, and you guys created forms for them. This gave you guys the freedom to go wild, since legendaries and mythicals are almost always pushing the boundaries of what a Pokemon can look like, while their forms also range from minor differences like Meloetta and Deoxys, or drastic upgrades like Hoopa Unbound and Zygarde Complete. And to shine a light on more than just the #1 spot, I invited a bunch of artist friends to judge these Fakemon and even give metaphorical prizes to the ones they deemed as their favorites. Now, at the end of the day, this is a Fakemon contest, so the designs should understandably look like Pokemon to the judges and I, and ultimately, everybody has their own idea of what a Pokemon should look like. I hope you can respect our decisions as, our preferences. If something won, it's simply because it was what we thought should win. There were just as many submissions as last time. That's around 600 Fakemon, and I personally think you guys stepped it up. So if a design was picked to be in the top 50 for each legendary, that means I genuinely liked it. So none of the entries are losers. They are already winners from the get-go, because I picked them over the hundreds of others. Understood? Good. Oh, that
I understand.
But before we begin, I'm gonna make a Fakemon based on today's sponsor, HelloFresh. Cooking is the #1 skill I want and need to get good at, considering eating is something I want and need to do all the time. But finding all the ingredients I need is expensive, time-consuming, and daunting. And finding a reliable recipe
Spelled with knife wings.
that contains all the ingredients I already have is kind of impossible. So with HelloFresh, I can finally get to cooking without worrying about any of that. HelloFresh provides pre-portioned ingredients and step-by-step recipes right to your doorstep to help you cook the homemade meals you crave with chef quality and variety. They have so many options to choose from. 50+ dinner options and a bunch that suit a healthy lifestyle, like 30+ calorie smart and protein smart recipes. And you can easily customize each week. Their breakfast options are noteworthy, especially since they'll be giving my viewers free breakfast items with every box they get. To represent how HelloFresh will make you feel like a skilled chef, I created a counterpart to my Bugfire Factor Fakemon. Check out Cutlaroos, the blade Pokemon, a steel flying type. It sharpens its wings against rocks every morning. The cleaner it cuts, the more respected it is among the flock. They chop down trees to harvest ingredients for their grand feasts. They meticulously clean their wings after every battle. Now, if you want to feel like Cutlaroos here, follow my exclusive link in the description and use my code GREENMAR10 to receive 10 free meals and free breakfast for life.
Green Mario? I'm sure someone else made that joke long before me.
That's literally 1 breakfast item per HelloFresh box while your subscription is active in the US. The link and code are valid in all countries, and the discount will still apply, so no worries. Just taking a second to click the link in the description really helps the channel out. It's the perfect way to help support TrueGreen7. Now let's see some legendaries. Behold, Fiendire and Labyrinth. Fiendire, a poison dark type, was inspired by angels and demons. I tried to combine both cute and dangerous elements. It's supposed to be this being that could be further corrupted or reformed. I purposely added attributes like the pattern on the stomach, wing-like spines, goat-like vibes, and spiky legs so that the artist had something to expand on. I personally did not have anything in mind for a second form, or should I say I was simply open to all the various creatures this could turn into. That way I wouldn't simply pick what I wanted to see as the winner, and very much allow the artist to be as creative as possible. It's the same reason I didn't attach any kind of lore or told them what it was inspired by, so that they can interpret this design in so many ways, and they did. Same thing with Labyrinth, a ground psychic type some of you might recognize if you're a real one. It was inspired by ancient tech and the protector of ruins. I even gave it vague patterns so that it can be interpreted as anything from Greek to Mesoamerican. But after I designed it, the name simply
I did see a lot of Greek.
felt right, as a mixture of labyrinth and adder, a kind of snake. But that name made people run wild with various concepts related to labyrinths, despite it not being part of the origin. But I'm glad. Again, I just want to see how people expand on the existing traits I gave these designs. Some even gave these 2 related lore. So please, I encourage you to pause and read every spot.
Oh, wait, that would actually be cool. Like, Labyrinth is made from the very labyrinth. I know Labyrinth isn't part of the name origin, but it could be part of the very labyrinth. and that the previous one, I just forgot the name, Findial, or however you pronounce it, was trapped in.
Pokedex entries and inspirations. Let's begin with the forms for
Okay.
Fiendire. Before we show the top 50, let's check out some honorable mentions. Nox's Daydream's form is very much the kind of entry I was hoping to see.
Ascended.
It could have been on the list.
Okay,
I love
that's
the black
cool.
hole on Labyrinth's props form.
Ooh.
Mason Jellison's carcinicized form is what I love to see.
Crab
Mimi's form is
people.
diabolical, and the item they gave it is charming. Love the slick design Valley of the Valley gave their form. Turtle Dove's
nice.
pixel art deserves some love. Great design too. Cat Ray Illustrates design was gonna be on the list, but the competition is tight. Same with Saito the Oni's form.
Oh, that's
I love
cool
the celestial
looking.
looking submissions. Andrew's form has so much personality and some
Damn.
clever details. Hesto Art's form was a very admirable take on a fusion
Whoa.
between both legendaries.
Fusion.
I would have loved to see Dead Bunny 21's form on the top 50. Love the space
Okay,
texture.
okay.
Ikimaru's design is sick. Could easily be a Fiendire form. Dalazig's
bad.
form is the most unique, considering it also contains the entirety of the other legendary within its already fully realized
Yeah,
design.
look at that.
All the judges loved the uniqueness of Uskushi Grimm's
Oh,
princess form.
okay.
Seb Scandizar's Archer almost made the list. It's a
Oh.
great Fakemon on its own. Same with Fiendire Ablaze by Great Lakes Fakemon. It's so well
Okay,
designed.
not
Last
bad.
but not least,
Apocalypse.
all the judges and I wanted to showcase the marvelous and straight up adorable design and layout that I'm Uncreative made. Their username is a lie. I wonder if I can steal this format. Now let's see the actual entries. Number 50, Council Form by Calc. Super solid one to start
Oh,
with. Basically
that's
the only
pretty
in the
good.
top 50 to turn Fiendire into a feline, and one of the few with this wise council concept. It utilizes
Oh,
less
it
of
is
the
like a
base
cat.
form attributes like its spikes, but perhaps the artist believed a less hostile form would warrant that change. Number 49. Vengeful Form by Gavinicus T.
Whoa.
Our first example of Fiendire form that interpreted the legs
Okay.
as a pen, therefore gave it an ink motif. The horn shape is unique, also part of the group that looks like an evolved form. Not a bad thing. I like the proportions a lot. Number 48. Alter Form by R. Casey.
Aw.
Our first example of the artist giving Fiendire a form that is pretty much an opposite or angelic version. I like how this form
Like
switches
Meloetta.
with the villainous form, and it basically is just a body that is shared by twins. Also combining their horn with a lyre is something I would have totally done too. Number 47. Released Form by Fakemon trainer Adam. The first example of the beast or feral route many went in.
Oh, wait, look, a visual reference, and he actually used a Digimon. I was gonna say for a second I was getting vibes of Digimon from it, and it did.
Rendering is flawless, and the individual shapes in this
I know
design
my
are fun.
Digimon.
Reminds me of the
feel
monsters
them.
from the live-action Scooby-Doo. Number 46.
Oh, yeah, I see
Unshackled Form by
Whoa.
Manoxa Elemental. While its resemblance to
That is
Chestnut did
cool.
make the other judges hesitant to promote
Okay.
this design, it is well rendered with a super satisfying sheen and does a lot of cool and interesting stuff, like having the ability to control ferrofluids. Number 45.
That's pretty cool.
Batsuku by
Whoa,
Tusenectica.
skinny.
One of the few on this list that's an actual evolved form. I won't retract any points for that considering it's a sleek design with an aesthetic I personally like to see in my Pokemon.
Yeah,
I love the
this isn't
tribal
too
take.
bad.
Number 44. Awakened Form by Olive Pitart. Or is it
Ooh,
Pitart?
very goat-like.
This very much looks like a naturally demonic version of what I made. One of the best expressions among the entries and a very cool design on the chest that expands on mine.
Lot of
Number
goat.
43. Resurrected Form by Imposter Ivy. I think this has the right amount of details for a legendary Pokemon. With bold shapes and proportions, Game Freak
Yeah.
would do. It's not the prettiest in the face area, but I see the
Fallen
satanic
angel.
inspo. Love the concave chest and implied
Oh, a
wings.
risen demon.
Number 42. Dystopian Form by Devilish Egg. I love when people use the
He's just
cold
tiled.
interpretation of hell. The utilization of Fiendire's eye shape and what are now frozen back spikes or spines was well done. I think giving it a neck would have completed the design though, but it's very cool already. Number 41. Jeweled Form by Cat Sylvana
Whoa.
Art. Is this the only water type here? That's not even the best aspect. Its silhouette is very strong and the addition of cyan and gold was tastefully done.
This one is giving a lot of vibes similar to like Full Power Lucifer
It's a
in
little
a way.
over-designed, but I knew that many of you guys would fall into that trap when designing a legendary. Still very memorable and a well-designed creature. Number 40. Taurian Form by Celestial Fakemon. I love how this artist combined the lore of my two legendaries, making Fiendire the Minotaur that is trapped by Labyrinth's constructions. It's a cool
Hey,
Fakemon
there you
with
go.
very well-done shapes that are tough to draw.
That's
Number
kinda like what I
39.
thought.
Storm Form by Dom 2D.
Oh, that's so
This is a
cute.
fantastic Fakemon design
It's
and
just a
would have been
little
higher
sheep.
on another day. It's both cute and cool and could easily be many people's favorites. Utilizing the jagged feet as thunder that comes out of a storm cloud is genius. And I would have originally said that the wool comes out of nowhere, but the horns and lore justify this interpretation a lot.
I'd
Number
hug it.
38. Arcane Manifestation by
Holy-
Aries Sheep. This is the design of a fantastic artist, and this creature is incredibly cool.
Man.
But while legendaries are the most complicated Pokemon of the bunch, and constantly push the boundaries of what a Pokemon can look like, the judges and I can't in good faith place this any higher.
Someone just
amazing
hit
though.
Elise.
Number 37. Fallen Noble by Sekna. I love how well the item is naturally integrated into the design.
You know what?
This artist knows the shape, language, and proportions of the Pokemon. It very much works in the franchise and looks like a seamless Fiendire form. Menacing while still tame and potentially cuddly.
Like a devil in disguise.
Number 36. Paladin form by Taz. The lore is fun and the various shapes used to design this form are very appealing to me. It expands on every element and is a viable potential form. We're basically at the point where if any of these designs were the true form of Fiendire, I wouldn't complain at all. Number 35. Aetherius by Nicholas. This is another well-designed Fakemon with a sleek celestial and angelic theme.
All in the
cool
angel
and mysterious.
Pokemon.
Can't complain and would love to use it. Number 34. Titan form by Dill Pickle 79. I love the idea of giving a toxic chain form to my Pokemon. It very much looks like a brutish version of Fiendire, and the proportions are fun to witness.
Actually, that kind of reminds me of the Minotaur from the first God of War game.
Number 33. Bezoar form by Riff Giraffe.
That's
I love how they took the
goat.
back legs and placed them in the front. It has the right amount of details for such a Pokemon, and looks like the kind of Pokemon I'd love in my party. Perhaps now that I think of it, it looks less like a legendary and more like a normal party member. But that ain't a bad thing.
No, this would be more like a regional variation on the Go-Go line.
Number 32. Fiendaya by Dogfish. I've always loved the idea that devil horns are simply broken halos of former angels, so completing Fiendire's horns and turning it into a cherubic being is definitely a direction I cherish, and it was executed quite well here. Number 31. Bipolar Fiendire by Sugiesk. This is just a very well-drawn Fakemon. It looks like a Pokemon to me, and I hope Sugiesk knows that they've mastered the shape language of, well, Sugimori style, I guess. If Fiendire was a mythical and had a form akin to Shaman Sky, this could totally work. Number 30. Bapricorn by CMY.
Oh, the moment this popped on screen, I knew exactly what was being referenced. This is 10,000% referencing that terrible mother from Kill la Kill.
Kitsune. The colors and pose really make this form look otherworldly and godlike, something that does not think like we do. The judges thought it was slightly hard to read, but I'm sure if the artist iterated and redesigned this a couple of times, it would be refined into top 10 material. Number 29. Origin form by Justin Boulay. While the judges noted that the lack of Fiendire's back spikes was disappointing, the design was still badass and very much invokes what the artist was going for, the peak of sleek. The utilization of existing Pokemon design traits makes it feel familiar, for better or worse. Number 28. Dealmaker form by Don Rise. I love how the artist translated Fiendire's chest pattern into a hellish maw. It's borderline too creepy for Pokemon, but at least it has one of the best
Now this thing would 10,000% be walking with a Dr. Facilier.
Personalities among the forms on this list.
With him.
I would personally love to redesign it to make it work perfectly in the Pokemon art style because of how much I'm drawn to it. Number 27. Frenzied form by Wannabe Wallix. We loved the gesture inspiration, and all the judges thought it was impressive for something seemingly drawn traditionally.
Yeah,
while it's not what any of us were going for, since it strays too far from the form I made, it's still a well-designed Fakemon. Number 26. Exceed form by Mellow Mallow. I love the art style and how the individual aspects of Fiendire were interpreted. It's a magnificent Fakemon, and Evil Sentai ain't a bad direction. Love the lance and legs. Number 25. Behemoth form by Horatio Arquez. Dude knows how to render in Sugimori style, I tell you what. I've always loved these top-heavy behemoth-looking mon, and it's virtually flawless.
As well.
I guess it didn't enter the top 20 simply because the later entries are more creative conceptually, but skill-wise, artistically, this is some of the best. Number 24. Heresy form by Sophalophosaurus. One of the judges noted that the heresy was spelled wrong, but we didn't retract any point for that. It was one of the best personalities and really did a great job incorporating Arceus elements to showcase its relationship with the alpha Pokemon. I like the summoning circle attribute and the way the horn mimics Arceus' wheel, but some of the judges thought that the bottom half could have been streamlined a bit. In my opinion, it's a mighty fine entry. Number 23. False Friend form by Cat Ray Illustrates. It was definitely the best of the entries that went the route of combining both legendaries. It does a fantastic job of utilizing the Laterint's traits to represent Fiendire's elements, like giving it a swirly horn, boxy boots, and a snake-like ponytail where the spikes should be. Even giving it Laterint's eye aesthetic and Fiendire's eye shape is astounding, I can't deny. Number 22. Awaken form by Crabs and Arts.
Alright, we got some hoop up in this.
Crabs and Arts.
The
Tainted Book is a great Grimoire-inspired item, and I love this form's energy and helix horns. The individual elements are well executed, but are a bit over-designed in, our humble opinions. You have a ton of great ideas, but having some restraint could have put this in the top 20 easily. Number 21, Wrathful Form by Remnant of Hope. While the judges acknowledged the artist's skill, they thought it was too different from the original form. While I agree, this is one of my personal favorites because I'm personally biased. I always love lava patterns and green fire. The proportions are cool, and the radioactive look is just something I love. I guess it does abandon too many of the existing themes, but some might say it evolves them. Number 20, Calm Form by Curie Art. First, I gotta say how much I like the item that they used to change form, lavender tea. In this calm state, its toxins become fumes? Brilliant. It introduces these unique patterns, does stuff that I like that others did, like the halo horn, and it's just very much appreciated. Number 19, Contracted Form by Sarge and In Charge. I personally love how giving it this contract is a great excuse for it to be constantly holding the item that transforms it. And it's also one of my favorite interpretations of Fiendire's legs being ink pens. The amount of detail is perfect and it looks otherworldly yet tame. It's legit imposing. I like the horn crown a lot, but the judges and I agreed that larger horns would complete the design. Number 18, Unleashed Form by That Gooey Kitty. We love how Fiendire's spikes become weapons on its wrists and the asymmetrical horns too. It also has the personality of the original. It's one of the most solid entries yet. Number 17,
like that one.
Fiendire by The Rat Hole. The shape language of this
Fountain Form. Do you see that back there? Whoa.
Design is immaculate. It's marvelously slim and sleek. The proportions are to die for. It's basically just a sketch, so if it were fully rendered, it may have been in the top 10. If I'm not mistaken, the artist gave this form another form, and this, this fountain form, which combines with the other legendary Labyrinth, it's sick as hell. Love when you guys give your Fakemon concept art. Number 16. Guardian Form by Batroon. We all love how marketable this one is, with its resemblance to Lucario. It does many things we loved about the others, and gosh darn do I personally love the scar-like patterns. They look really natural. Another great example of turning the back spikes into wings, but a more dynamic pose and expression would have placed this in the top 10. Number 15. Fiendire by French Teapot. The art style and silhouette are to die for. It's not exactly a true opposite since it's still a demonic trickster, but goddamn is it such a delightful combination of cute and deadly. This was definitely made by a true artist. It looks like it was really fun to draw. Number 14. Unhinged Form by The Botmaster. One of my favorites of the feral forms. I love the pose and expression, the colors are bold and contrast really well with each other. Always love a glimmering eye, and the glowing tongue is pretty cool too. This kind of concept could easily be overkill, but it was tastefully done by the artist. Number 13,
did very well.
Fiend Form by Seam. I love how you paid attention to every attribute that Fiendire had and naturally expanded upon it, while still keeping it super close to the original. It has a lot of personality, and the additional lore of it being the lost fourth member of the Lake Trio is super fun. The original Dark type is wicked. Number 12, Martyr Form by Paper Pratic. This is one of my personal favorites, believe me. The most unique concept so far, and I know many may not get it, especially since for many of the judges, it took them some time to notice that its face was higher than they originally thought. But it makes total sense. Its spikes branching out and forming a thorny tree and a cross that it must bear. It's beautiful visual storytelling, and as the person who created Fiendire, it expands the design in ways I did not expect to love. Number 11, Paladire by Night Fawn Art. The best of the heroic forms. The pose, expression, shapes, added features, distribution of colors, and overall concept is very strong. It does everything right, really. It kind of shows how tough the competition was. At the end of the day, the top 10 is filled with many of the personal favorites of each judge. Let's finally head into the top 10 with Unyielding Form by Jess the Dex. This entry receives our first judge prize, as it was the personal favorite form of Nordist, and I can see why. It's infinitely cool, and while some may think it looks too complicated, I can see that every bit was intentional. It's supposed to be insanely spiky, and the artist inserted the right amount of sharp edges for it to be the embodiment of danger. No more, no less. It's clearly designed by a true artist, and I love the item they created. This is such a complete render. Number 9. Incarnate Form by Sparkle Shine. This is what we deemed as the best Arceus-inspired design among the many that went in that direction. And the shiny Giratina is beautiful. It's pretty straightforward, but so well executed. No superfluous details, while still making sure to expand on everything I gave Fiendire. I mean, turning its back spikes into an Arceus wheel does put a smile on my face. Number 8.
Actually, it'd be a Fiendile wheel now.
Bloodlust Form by Axonite. This was the favorite of many judges during our judging process. Its peak personality. It goes crazy and stupid. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but perfect for those who like this kind of character. You can have a great concept and amazing artistry, but ultimately, it's down to the execution of your idea, and Axonite did a fantastic job. Number 7. Chaos Form by MIDI PokeArts 08. This is without a doubt the best rendered entry.
It's a little difficult to see because of the blur, but it's
among
not
the hundreds.
bad.
It looks like it could be on a Pokemon card. It was so convincing, I was compelled to place it this high. Technically the best among the designs that incorporated ink. It may not be my favorite concept, but it may very well be the best piece of art we received for Fiendire. Number 6.
Okay.
Hallowed Form by Buggy Juice. I gave Fiendire various elements to be
like
interpreted in different ways, like the pattern on his chest, and this artist delivered with my favorite depiction of what happens to that chest when it transforms.
Yeah. Like
Not to mention, brilliantly designing every other aspect as well. I mean, the eye becoming galaxies to complement the celestial theme. Mwah! Its asymmetrical crest form makes sense too. It does so many things right. It's a
the chest became a black hole.
Fantastic legendary on its own. And now, let's finally look at the top 5. All of which could have easily taken the number 1 spot, because they all excel at many of the personal criteria each judge had. So number 5 is Rampage Form by Little. This is absolutely the best of the behemoth-looking forms, and was at one point during the judging process about to be the number 1 spot, because while it wasn't any of our favorites, it was the only one that we all unanimously liked. There are literally no misses.
I can see
it may
why.
not have everything some of the judges wanted to see, but we all can acknowledge that everything the artist wanted to do, they absolutely nailed. It personally does everything I wanted to see in my book. Great personality, design, concept, execution, lore, shapes, and proportions. Definitely a design to be proud of. Number 4. Redemption Form by K-Knighted Gem. This also won a judge's prize as it was Harry Gold's favorite design. Congratulations. But we all agreed that this did the opposite angelic form the best. It utilizes everything from the original design while brilliantly...
And they gave it the ability to where if it uses a Fairy or Dog type move, it changes into that form.
Creating the inverse of my form. Like how my Dark type Fiendire had large back spines and a short head spike, while this Fairy type form has a large head spike and tinier back spines. It's full of tiny details like that, while being a great design on its own.
That is pretty good.
Number 3. Hadal Form by M. Sheshan. This is awarded a nice old judge's prize because it was the personal favorite of, you guessed it, True Green 7. That's right. If I was judging the entries all on my own, this would have won. But top 3 ain't bad either. I think it's perfect in every way.
Not too bad.
It expands on all the things I would have personally prioritized in marvelous ways, like the chest becoming a malicious eye from an alternate dimension, and of course, the brilliant personality. This is how you do a sinister Pokemon. Its pose is also breathtaking. I mean, having it float with such a sassy stance makes it one of my favorite legendary designs I've ever seen. It wears its inspirations on its sleeves, which made the other judges a bit more hesitant to award it the top prize, but in my opinion, it has the right balance of originality. Number 2, Deadeye Form by Dynamocha. This was the unanimous second place and is also awarded the double judges prize, as it was both Vergoliphus and Pointy Hat's favorite. It's definitely the best executed idea in this part of the video, and therefore the best of the archers. So many of the details are genius, like the idea of it pulling the spikes from its back and using them as arrows, the pattern on its chest becoming both an eye and target, and of course the final execution by giving it such a striking pose and Dynamocha's fun art style. It's crazy how high this form got on the list, despite it looking fairly similar to the original, and that's because the artist did a fantastic job interpreting what they saw and then executing their idea. But number 1 is what we all collectively believed made the most sense at the top spot. That is Opportune Form by Kelp Cheap. This is without a doubt the most well-executed mod in this list because it's fairly unique, being one of the few draconic entries, given that the original is already horned, while expanding on the original design by taking the original form's legs and placing them in the front.
From a kit to a dragon.
It's so noble yet clearly powerful. It has the aura of a god. Making each aspect feel cohesive with the right amount of details was key, and most importantly, this one looks the most like an actual legendary Pokemon as established by the franchise, without falling into any of the traps many entries outside of the top 10 fell into, like over-designing, only focusing on one aspect, or abandoning others. And on top of it all, it's perfectly drawn and rendered. It's basically flawless and feels like the form most players would want to seek out if given the option. To anoint it as the winner, let us read the lore Kelp Cheap gave us, since that is now the official Fiendire lore. Its unassuming base form is a facade to get its opponents to lower their guard, and when the time is right, it strikes without mercy. Fiendire's spines glow brightest when it's about to attack. It is said that the royal kings of the past used Fiendire to fight for them in their armies. And goddamn is the shiny amazing. That's a good shiny. Sheesh.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Now let us finally witness what these artists transformed Labyrinth into. Before we begin, here are some honorable mentions. T-Ghost form is basically the best mossy form I received. Devilish Egg's form is super pretty and unique. Arcasi's form is a good example of what's to come. Mad RVST's form is straight up good fake. Would have loved to find a place for Gary's form. Tablet Pillow's form has one of the most interesting shapes here. Mr. Krasenart's form is epic and dazzling. Camping with Monsters form would easily be in the top 50 if they refined it a bit more. And Just Han's form was almost in the top 50. I love elephants and I would have liked to see such a form make the list. But let's see what actually did. Number 50. Infinite Form by Mandoxa Elemental. This is a well-drawn and cool concept, but as a Pokemon, it's a bit tough to accept. You'll see a lot of Labyrinth's forms that were submitted struggle to make their design look like a believable animal that lives comfortably, and this is the most extreme of that.
Yeah,
it's still amazing. I love the Mark of Infinity item. Number 49, Labyrinth Form by Kenmon05. I love
Labyrinth the Labyrinth. Okay. Damn, that thing is so big. It would be rivaling the Avalugg from PLA.
This guy, he looks super friendly and fun. I really feel the size, and it's pretty impressive how fully realized this is while being in one of the most minimal art styles you'll see today. But the first of many Labyrinth forms on the list. Number 48, Brute Form by Turtle Dove.
Ooh,
the pixel art is masterfully done. I love how three-dimensional it looks, and the fists are very well rendered with such a limited art style. Just a good Fakemon at the end of the day. Number 47. Labyrinth Keeper by Mega's Art Shack.
Whoa.
The artist clearly put a lot of effort into this design. I'm very proud of it. It's a bit tough to read at first, but as a creature design and even statue, it's very magnificent. If it strayed from the original design a bit less, it may have been higher. Number 46, Bond Form by Owen D. Fiore. Now this is a bit too similar to the original, but clearly you see a reoccurring Ouroboros theme. I love the subtle new patterns.
Oh yeah, look, right here. Look right there, and you actually see a nail form of Infinity.
Introduced, and the rendering is very flawless. It's a clean design. Sheesh. Number 45, Bastion Form by Pstug01. Honestly, introducing the Steel type as a way to fuse two Labyrinths is smart, and it's a cool concept. Ultimately, it looks more like concept art than a form a Pokemon would have, but again, legendary Pokemon can be anything, and this could easily be a state my Pokemon could at some point be in. Number 44, Fortified Form by Skeleton Man. The judges were weary of its resemblance to Sandaconda, but honestly that was intentional and still well done. I like how its head looks like the podium in the middle of an altar. Striking silhouette too. Number 43, Awakened Form by Great Lakes Fakemon. I mean, this one's straight up cool. I guess it's the first one on the list that is basically just an upgraded, more powerful looking Labyrinth, which ain't bad at all. This one was done well.
It feels
Number
like 42,
Utopia Form by Saito Leone. Now this one is the most controversial because it's just a city. I know it's an illusion and isn't really that big, but I gotta applaud the audacity. It's fun to look at, but can't go any higher given how this looks nothing like a creature. Still very memorable.
Yeah,
Number 41, Entrance Form by Color Cat.
Oh, it's
another Ouroboros, but this time with an ultra wormhole. This added concept, along with changing Labyrinth's face shape a bit so that it's not just a regular Labyrinth, makes this a super solid pick. The artist did a great job. Number 40,
they give it a mount.
Royal Form by Spaced Out of It. This isn't the first Minotaur-inspired form, and it won't be the last. You'll see many configurations considering the Pokemon is made up of blocks, and this one is one of the least flawed. Everything the artist set out to do was executed well. Pretty much all of the entries from here on out could be anybody's favorite. Number 39, Defense Form by Cynthian. Another one that looks barely sentient, but
held item Defense Core. And that's clearly from Zygarde.
The actual proportions and perspective are immaculate. Some judges found the various battle gimmick symbols on its facade corny, but I like them. Dude very much looks legendary, and it's totally fine for Labyrinth to
look. Look, there's a Mega Evolution symbol right there, Gigantamax symbol / Dynamax. Of course, that's meant to be the Zygarde cell. And that's apparently it.
Have a more animalistic form, and one more akin to a structure, like Defense Form. Number 38, Rebirth Form by Straw Baby Milk. While the colors introduced may clash a bit, they are still lovely and make sense based on their origin. The entire design would totally work as a stronger form of Labyrinth. I think the judges simply wanted to see a slightly better silhouette so that it was easier to read. Number 37, Warden Form by The Mercy Region. Our first straight up bull, and it's kind of flawless. I have zero real complaints. I like the introduction of the columns, and it definitely still looks like a labyrinth. I can see this chasing the player. Number 36. Excavated form by the Gooey Kitty. Another banger, but it honestly strays too much from the original form.
What is
It looks like it's inspired by Labyrinth instead of being Labyrinth. Regardless, it's one of the best pieces of standalone art submitted, and I want to see more from the artist. I love the maze and the concept art. It's immaculate. It's a beautiful design, just too divergent. Number 35. Ladder form by Pacifita Region. This is straight up entertaining and a clever use of what I gave you guys to work with. Clearly the artist took inspiration from the name, the art style sells it as a Fakemon, and the personality is still there even without an expression, which is definitely hard to do. Number 34. War form by the Rat Hole.
Damn.
A continuation of the fountain form.
Oh, and this is connected to the fountain form. Okay, yeah, that's where the body is, and those are the arms that are spraying out the water. Okay,
saw previously.
Finally.
The charisma this has is off the charts. Once again, the artist showcases their mastery over silhouettes and restraint when it comes to the amount of details. It's a very appreciated submission. I hope they render their design a bit further in the next contest. Number 33. Summit form by Wannabe Wallix. All the judges loved this one and totally appreciated the seemingly traditional style. The perspective is marvelous and the sense of scale was executed perfectly. I guess we were all just hoping to see something that utilizes a bit more elements of the original design. There were some traits that didn't make it. Like, you know, a tail. That would have elevated the design further, but who knows. Number 32. Terraform, I believe, by Seb Scanizaris. The way the artist introduced the hood of a cobra was extremely well executed. That, along with the expression and additional embellishments, were very much enough to make it stand out. They did a great job of not overdoing it. Definitely a noteworthy entry. Number 31. Unsealed form by Shade Chew. Our first entry that interprets Labyrinth as a material snake within the blocks, and the art style is brilliant. The artist knows what they're doing. I think other attempts simply do a better job of making the organic and synthetic parts, look more cohesive, but this is still a strong design. Number 30. Construct form by Olive Pytart. I think that's how you pronounce it. We'll find out. This is a mighty fine example of the ones that look like a temple, but Olive successfully made it look sentient and even seem as if it's potentially coiled up, all while introducing the Mesoamerican elements we know and love. Definitely should be proud of this design. Top 30 out of 300 Labyrinth forms is no joke. Number 29. Prime form by Drawden12. This is a pretty dope shape for a Labyrinth form, and I love how the wings fully utilized existing shapes and embellishments that Labyrinth already had, instead of tacking on new design elements. It's a fun entry for sure. A pose that allows us to see the eyes and potential expression would have elevated it further. Number 28. Power Construct by Justiven here. The way the artist configured the blocks into their Minotaur design was genius, and the way the red line reveals the right path is such an inspired way to add an additional element that doesn't complicate the design. In fact, it makes it easier to read. This may be smarter than I can comprehend. While the artist did a great job making it look tangible and even 3D, it did look uncanny to some of the other judges. Number 27. Complete form by Dragoon Flix. This is just sick. Very well drawn, and the maze map in the middle of the Ouroboros was a neat choice. Conceptually and design-wise, it's pretty amazing. I guess later entries just do similar things with more success in other aspects, like personality. Still epic though. Number 26. Conflict Mode by Lynx Artbox. This looks badass and ready to charge. The added core actually makes sense for such fragmented form to have, and the look this thing is giving us is striking. It could be a Minotaur, but we interpret it as a rhino kind of thing, and one of the other judges noticed that the tail kind of looks like a catapult, but that may just be a coincidence. Number 25. Assault form by Valsmith18. A giant head chasing you through a maze, Pac-Man style, is definitely a terrifying trope, so I love this. The way the parts like the eyes and cheek interlock, showcasing how well planned this design is, makes this another amazing feat that shouldn't be overlooked. I'm glad I was able to find it a place in the top half of the list. Number 24. Solved form by Sergeant Golly. I was the biggest fan of this design among the judges. I love how there are two heads here, but both have completely different configurations and personalities, both with the right amount of detail and utilization of what the base form already has. It's a fantastic Fakemon. The other artists did note it would be easier to read if the heads were a different shade or value than the body. That's why they love the shiny for that reason. Number 23. Interrogation form by Yappy Taxi. This one is extremely fun and one of the few to introduce curved blocks. It's something made for a video game, like a 3D Mario game. I would love to see it in motion. The item is cute too. Very creative form, I'd say. Number 22. Serpent Form by Hammer Locker.
Oh, there
this
we go.
This also wins our first judge's prize since Harry Gold chose this as their favorite. We all loved how much every aspect was executed flawlessly. It looks like a funny dragon with
like
personality, height, and power. It utilizes everything I gave the artist while still expanding on it, both visually and conceptually. It basically does what many submissions try to do, but super successfully. No judge doubted this. Number 21. Unsealed Form by New.
Oh,
I love how the snake within the blocks is still blocky. The artist did a marvelous job making the blocky exoskeleton and inner skin look very cohesive. The added feathers were also masterfully done, and at the end of the day, this is beautiful to witness. Number 20. Complete Form by PP Pirate. While my dude needs to work on making sure the line weight is consistent, I do love the concept and the design of this. It's fun and dynamic. One of my favorite takes on the
You know, a lot of people went with the name Complete Form.
temple idea, since
Just pointing it out.
very clearly lively. Number 19. Guardian Form by Fossil Claws. For similar reasons to the previous,
okay.
I love how it looks like a temple, but we can clearly see how it's reconfigured into a snake. This artist has mastered the Pokemon art style as well, and very much has a knack for making a believable Fakemon. It does what many did, but incredibly well. Number 18. Maze Form by Cinnamon Sugar Bunny Deer. The perspective and scale is perfect. The line weight is not the most logical, but I'm sure the artist can eventually figure that out. Super creative how you manage to think of an idea and execute a Stonehenge-like labyrinth. It really works and totally makes sense. Number 17. Geoweapon Form by M. Sheshan. Oh, this is a cool take on a Hydra version of Labyrinth. I absolutely love the way the Prime Head looks. This oozes personality.
Almost like a
The literal
Hydra.
design is perfect, but the judges noted that a more readable silhouette
it's like a Hydreigon. There you
be
go.
worth the redesign. Keep in mind, a lot of the issue the judges had during their time judging had to do with how quickly they were able to read what was going on in the design. Since they had way less time looking at these Fakemon than I did, it was a big priority for them. I get it though, that's why the next entry wasn't as high as it should have been. Number 16. Overdrive Form by Fakemon Goes 875. I love the idea of Labyrinth's soul being the energy that takes the shape of a smaller humanoid, and the blocks of Labyrinth forming a weapon. The shapes, pose, and rendering are flawless. This is a really well thought out mon, and I'd love to place it higher.
I don't know why, but this design just in general is making my brain remember everything about Fooly Cooly.
But it took all the judges quite some time to notice that little dude over there. Our advice is to make this way brighter so that the details don't blend in. The shiny, for example, is a little bit easier to read because the highlights have more contrast, but you have something really special here, gotta say. Number 15. Big Step Form by Utsukushi Rim. Without a doubt the best of the bipedal forms. It looks colossal. A titanic form with gold rims. What a beaut she is. My commentary is kind of straightforward now because I'm sure anybody can understand why this is, as high as it is. Number 14. Plush Form by Pin Dog. We were all flabbergasted that someone would take the time and energy to make such a well-crafted plush for their design. This deserves a ton of praise. We were even more excited how not only did the artist take the hard road, but the actual design of the form is really good. Like if the design itself wasn't good, this would just be an honorable mention, but they didn't use the medium as a crutch. It's a great job. Number 13. True Form by Curry Art. Pretty much the only one that sculpted the bricks into a more realistic snake and even gave it multiple heads. And made those dual heads work as the pediment of a temple. The item is well thought out and the lighting on the design looks fresh. It's a Pokemon I'd love to use. Number 12. Warden Form by Batroom. Now, I'm kind of impressed that the only Scorpion form, which, deviates from pretty much all the other submissions, managed to reach such heights. Dude said they wanted to make a Scorpion Labyrinth and nailed it. It's exactly how I would have done the exact same concept. A flawless legendary Pokemon design too. Killer, yet fun. And number 11. Shifting Form by Night Launcher. This is basically a fully realized Labyrinth. Practically just a redesign of my Pokemon, but by a better artist. If Labyrinth was made with more futuristic ancient tech, it would look like this. This was Harry's runner-up, by the way, so he agrees as well. All the judges respected the skill Night Launcher showcased. Let's see how the top 10 turned out, though. Number 10. Fortified Form by Local Lab Rat. The judges and I decided that this was the best of the designs that devised a Mesoamerican-inspired dragon that coils up into a temple. It does what the others wanted to do without overcomplicating things, and even applying some kind of personality. I love the way it looks like it's smiling in its temple form. Its lore and how it shelters Pokemon and people are great. It totally feels like what we all thought a Labyrinth form would look like. Dude read our minds. Number 9.
That actually
Game Master
was
Form
good.
by Abracore. We were all shocked when we witnessed a labyrinth inspired by chutes and ladders. The patterns on the main block are subtle yet decorative, and the additional colors are incredibly pretty. This is something we'd all want to see in a game. Very nice work. Number 8. Daedalith by Night Fun Art. This is what...
Oh, okay, I got that immediately. Daedalith? It's literally based around the guy that made the... It's a literal reference to the actual guy in mythology who built the labyrinth that held the Minotaur. So it made the labyrinth into the Minotaur.
The judges and I think was the best of the Minotaur-inspired designs. There were many like this, but the proportions were to our liking here. If this existed as a legendary in a future game, we're sure it would be popular. Number 7. Restored Form by Red Claw Art.
Oh, that's
this also
a real
wins a
Hydra.
judge prize, being Nordist's favorite labyrinth form. This is what we all decided is the most creative of the Hydra-inspired forms, because not only does it incorporate the item, the pyramid core in the center, into the design, but it's also a genius way to have the other heads extrude out. The pose, perspective, and silhouette are flawless, and we all loved how the gold was integrated into the color scheme. This is how you come up with an idea and execute it. Number 6. Unyielding Form by Jess the Dex. This artist may have included my favorite item. The way the reinforced scales were rendered is sick, and the entire art style makes me envious. This is the work of a master. Any artist who can draw this should be proud. Looks like a deity. You took what I made and ascended it. Definitely my favorite wing so far. I love how you expanded on the swirly accents the blocks had. At one point, this was in the top 3, but then the other forms were submitted. That's just how a contest works. But oh boy, I hope you're ready for the top 5. Number 5. Unleashed Form by D3V3 Art. This
looks like something straight out of Legend of Zelda.
Wins a judge's prize, as it is Vergolifus' favorite, and I can see why. The patterns that the artist added to the energy really elevate the design into new heights that plenty of these similar interpretations didn't. This is a fully realized version of what we've seen before. It's magnificent. You gotta show respect to anyone who can design stuff like this. It has maximum aura. Could have easily won if 4 other artists didn't, enter. Number 4. Brahelinth by Pigeon Chop. It won a judge's prize since the Sterninator deemed this their favorite. This is powerful stuff, man. We all loved how its lower jaw looks like the ground that rose with it. Its scale is frightening, but what's even more impressive
kind of gives me some Steelix vibes with that mouth.
Is how there are so many details like multiple eyes, cracks, stairs, and windows, yet this doesn't look over-designed in the slightest. It's an enigma. Again, another one that could have been number 1. Number 3. Awakened Form by Kelp Cheap. This wins the double judge prize with both a pointy hat and Toxicwood favorite. What an honor. Goddamn, Kelp Cheap, sheesh. But pretty much every artist had this in their top 5. This is the design with the most personality, and as you can see from this list, we did prioritize that since many labyrinth designs fell short on that. Naturally, since, they were given a bunch of blocks. This exudes Quetzalcoatl energy. Every accent, including the, the tongue and the...
No. I'm sorry, Ron, but this thing does not give enough Quetzalcoatl energy. This thing is more like a frayed lizard or a veiled lizard. Well, there's not enough of Quetzalcoatl, which is a feathered serpent.
Feathers staying swirly is what we love to see. It didn't make me jealous of this person's skills. Instead, it made me proud that my design was a starting point for this. This feeling may be why it's so high. It's a top-notch creature design. Number 2. Incanith by Elisteva076. Yep, you can't deny this one. It's kind of clear how well rendered and designed this is.
Good.
It's master level stuff. Peak Fakemon and creature design in full display. We were all impressed by this. It's even tough to say why it's so good. We all just looked at it and agreed that it deserved to be in the top 2 without further elaborating. So I don't really remember why we all liked it. It was more like we all just gave it this ranking by default because it was that good. I already mentioned what so many other entries got wrong and right, so I'm sure you can figure out what made this so great, artistically and conceptually. But I gotta say, the number 1 spot was the judges' winner. One we all agreed was kinda too good to not be number 1, and a culmination of all that we saw throughout the list. That is, Labyrinth by Yokaiju. This was a unanimous winner. We put aside our biases when
I can see that. I agree as well. This is just straight up false rank.
The number 1 spot. Because look at this absolute unit. It combines so many ideas that other entries had, like multiple heads, an Ouroboros, a behemoth, and a maze, all while being clear and easy to read. The pose and angle is magnificent.
Good.
The use and mastery over perspective is front and center. The shading, god damn, the shading and shiny weren't even a factor in our judgment, and even those are perfect.
Yeah,
this simply is Labyrinth's true form. I'm kind of embarrassed to even place my design next to this one. Let's read the Dex entry now that, this is the official lore for Labyrinth. When combined with the Ancient Hammer, Labyrinth unleashes its true power. It has control over the earth around it, molding a titanic body of stone and warping the terrain with its presence. Its creator would be proud. And I hope you were proud of the winners. And if you want to see another fan contest exactly like this one, please leave a like and let these artists know how good of a job they did. If this video does well,
all I can say is that this was pretty good. And as you could probably tell by a few of my reactions throughout it, and which ones I liked, which ones I preferred, and some I just didn't really care for. But either way, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.